Okay. Is everybody ready? You ready, John? Ready. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody out to our work session, second meeting of the month for the Weber County Planning Commission. We have just a couple of items on the agenda tonight. They could be long items, I suppose.
As quick or as long as you want.
There we go. The usual, right? Depends on how long we want to kick them around. Okay. So first item is let's see. General plan and Port Authority boundary discussion with Port Authority and local landowners. So I don't know, we got a few landowners. Probably kind of hoping for a bigger group, but maybe they'll trickle in. So we're starting with the boundary.
Yeah, that's the response, right?
Yeah. Boundaries are.
Having there, we're just gonna share, but if there's and then it'll help set the stage for what we're gonna do.
It'll be a little introduction, discussion boards that look for us over, and then document.
Perfect. Okay, that works. Well, we're gonna start with presentation from Inland Port. Stephanie and I, Pat, right?
That's correct.
Good. It wasn't even written down. I can't believe I
Well,
remembered.
that's amazing.
You're not kidding. Ask Casey.
I'm gonna get this presentation over. I'm gonna get this presentation over to Anne.
Right, I mean, we're gonna do more.
And I'll show some visual aids for you all. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present today. I work really closely with the economic development team, as well as the planning team to master plan and work on opportunities in the project area boundaries. What I'm going to be presenting on today is basically an overview of the last 12 months. It's our annual report. I have a PDF copy of this annual report for the commission. If you're interested, just let me know. I can get you a copy of it. We just celebrated our 2nd anniversary as a project area this last month. And we've been working really hard to optimize this area for future growth. The master plan for the Western Weber area is our guiding document as we look to expand opportunities out here. When we're talking with companies, when we're working on infrastructure, we look to that general plan as our guiding star as we figure out what we can offer for businesses coming into the area.
Is that not trouble pulling up, but I just sent you the.
Okay, let's see if I can get it.
Mart, are you okay to let Stephanie into the Zoom?
Yeah.
While Stephanie's pulling this up, I'm just gonna
Go ahead.
with a little bit of information for history. So, the core project area is 9,000 acres. It's predominantly everything, west of 8300. It encompasses industrial properties only, and that's gonna be something we need to talk about today, of why it encompasses industrial properties and commercial properties only, and why we'll be talking about the boundary and the general plan. As Stephanie mentioned, we utilize that general plan as our roadmap for development. We work very closely with our utility districts out there. And for those of you who don't know, I'm the county's economic development director and government relations lead. But I moonlight as LNSA's managing director and project manager, which is the sewer district out there. So the real reason we partnered with the port is they provide a finance mechanism through tax increment finance to enable us to right size the infrastructure in that area so we can actively implement the general plan. Everything revolves around the general plan, and we're talking about doing any type of development out in that Western Weber Corridor, particularly in our import project area. So, Stephanie can give you kind of what we've been working on this last year, and then Charlie's gonna talk about what we need, what we're gonna come and ask for a boundary adjustment on the general plan.
Awesome. So as I mentioned, we've been partnering with the county for about 2 years now. This shows the approximate boundaries of our project area. It encompasses about 9,000 acres. This is largely within the industrial zoning, according to the general plan. We have some areas out here on the east. This is the Promontory Commerce Center or the Black Pine Project. And then we're calling this western area the Weber, the Little Mountain Zone. And we've been working really closely with the landowners out in this area to better understand their plans for developing their sites, understanding the needs of all of these landowners when it comes to infrastructure and how we can help finance that infrastructure, like Stephanie said, and right size that for what the future of this area is going to look like. Rather than how infrastructure normally gets built, which is piecemealing it development by development, project by project. This allows us to take a regional approach to investing in that infrastructure and getting it done right the first time. We were created in May of 2024. In partnership with the county, we also implemented a wetland strategy to help protect the sensitive lands out in this area. This year we had some exciting developments, some exciting opportunities that came about, mostly in significant investments in infrastructure out in that area. The first is a $5 million AIB loan from our Authority Infrastructure Bank, as well as matching $5 million in ARPA funding to build a 6 million gallon per day sewer lift station out in that area. That $10 million, and we like to think of it kind of as seed money to start taking off that infrastructure investment, was a really important first step in getting it there. We have also been informed that they've priced a $25 million special assessment bond for that Black Pine Promontory Commerce Center development. That 25 million is going to be incredibly significant in getting the infrastructure that we need out in that way started.
And I just want to hop in really quick, Stephanie. I want the commission to understand that this $35 million lift in infrastructure out there did not come out of the county's budget. This is an ARPA legislative appropriation that my department received a couple of years ago from the state legislature. It's a loan that the Promontory Commerce Center and Black Pine Development took out with the inland port, and then the PID is what's facilitating that $25 million bond. This is not anything out of tax increment yet. And we do have the opportunity to implement tax increment as we move forward. But right now, as it stands, this $35 million largest regional conveyance system in northern Utah, which is being put in right now on that in that corridor, was paid for by developers and by working with the state legislature. In case you hear differently during the campaign the next couple weeks, the county has not had any, that has not been funded by county taxpayer dollars.
I've already heard that.
I know you have. I'm correct.
Yeah, that's good. Favoritism from developers.
So here's just a little highlight of the Promontory Commerce Center that we discussed. It's about a 400-acre development that they're working on building that infrastructure for right now. We kind of call our phase one out in that area, since they are taking the lead on getting their development prepped and ready to go. This is a map that we created in partnership with some of the landowners out here that kind of highlights the industrial opportunities out in this area. It also identifies some of the areas that are undevelopable, areas that are encumbered by wetlands, and allows us to kind of direct where that growth should go as we kick off really marketing this site for industrial development.
So can you give them a quick overview of our wetlands policy and how significant it is? And we were the inaugural county to do a wetlands policy with the Untitled Chapter authority.
Absolutely. So this project area, as you know, is sandwiched in between two wildlife management areas from the DNR. There's also a significant amount of wetlands out in this area. And so in partnership with the county, we are setting aside 3% of the tax increment generated in this area
For 25 years.
For 25 years to commit to wetland preservation. We anticipate that the funds generated by this project could exceed up to $10 million just for wetland preservation and regeneration, delineation, whatever is needed out in this area. And those dollars will stay local to this area. And so anything within our project area boundaries or that have a nexus to our project area have access to those funds for qualifying projects. So we're really, really excited about our partnership with the county and what we can potentially do out here. There's a lot of willingness on the side of the landowners to participate in this as well. They recognize the significance and the sensitivity of these areas. Their intention is to not pave over these pristine wetlands, but to preserve them and even provide access to the public in some instances. And so we're really excited about the potential of these wetlands being an amenity in this area. And we're excited about doing our part to invest in the preservation of these sensitive areas. We are actively involved in recruitment out in this area for businesses that fit what the county is looking for. We have a number of industries that we're targeting in partnership with the county, including energy, advanced manufacturing. We are trying to identify industries that don't need a significant amount of industrial water use. Water is constrained out in this area, so we're focused on industries that don't require a significant amount of water. We are interested in looking at aerospace and defense. Life sciences is a really strong industry here in the state. And as this area gets built out, it is going to kind of serve as that next phase of industrial development here in the region. The business of Ogden is pretty much built out. The Freeport Center down in Clearfield doesn't have any more room to grow. And so this area really does become that new industrial hub for these two counties. And we're excited to position it that way. We've had many site visits. We have 3 projects in active negotiation. We're really, really hopeful that we'll be able to announce those 3 projects this year. So keep an eye out. We're excited about the potential in this area. It's a very attractive area for the businesses we're looking for because within a 30-minute drive, you have access to 500,000 people in population. And so it's a really attractive place for industrial development. Not to mention the logistical assets out there with the UT main line and an available spur for rail access. We already kind of talked through some of the recruitment and finance updates. As I mentioned, we partner really closely with our logistics partners out in this area to improve access to this frankly underutilized asset of that rail line out in the Western Weber Corridor. There is a lot of opportunity for us to get additional rail users out in this area. And we're working really closely with Union Pacific, as well as some short line rail operators that could potentially serve in this area, to ensure that we're optimizing our planning to facilitate rail users coming in and taking advantage of that. That's going to be really, really important, especially as the transportation network matures and becomes a little more connected. Having a ton of truck traffic on that road isn't going to be ideal. So as much of that traffic as we can, if we can convert that onto a rail line, that's going to be best, especially for the short term in this area. We are working really closely with the county on marketing the site nationally and internationally. And we are really eager to position this as a premier location within the state for industrial growth. With as much acreage as is available out in this area, it's pretty rare for us to have as large of contiguous land area that we can market. And it really puts us in position for some significant projects. We're just ensuring that we have the infrastructure to support these large scale projects. It's a really huge asset for the state to have a site like the West Weber area when we're trying to compete for, these massive billion-dollar projects. We're excited about the infrastructure that's underway that we mentioned. This next year, 2026, 2027 is going to be significant in kicking off that infrastructure build out. We're working on establishing a new public infrastructure district that will be responsible for additional infrastructure. We can discuss that a little bit later, but wanted to mention that. I brought up our sustainability and initiatives when it comes to wetlands. We are looking at doing an amendment to that wetland strategy. We're moving it from a wetland specific policy to a natural resources policy. And that includes some development guidelines that we want to see in our project areas that don't just involve, responsible mitigation of adjacent wetlands, but also include things like dark sky developments, bird-friendly lighting for your buildings, these types of development guidelines that have these structures work with the land instead of against the land. And so we're excited to make some changes and tweaks to our policy to encourage that type of environmentally friendly building policies and practices in our project areas. So that's the bulk of my presentation on what we've been doing in this last year in partnership with the county. Happy to answer any questions regarding our project area, how the mechanism works, how we're working with the county on the West Weber site specifically. What questions can I answer?
I do want to say that the inland port is a finance mechanism. They use tax increment finance with an agreement with the county for a portion of the tax increment that is generated in that area from development, which then gets reinvested as infrastructure into the project area. They do not have land use authority. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that Weber County is the land use authority. Once again, that's why we're very reliant on the general plan. And sometimes people don't understand that about the inland port. They're a partner here for recruitment, development, infrastructure development, and financing of that infrastructure. Not here to tell the county what they're going to do with their future land use plan.
Absolutely. That's a really important distinction, especially in comparison to other land use authorities or development authorities in the state, like MIDA. So MIDA does have land use authority within their project areas. The inland port does not.
Commissioners, any question?
What was that split that the county gets?
It's 75-25 as a
Which
statutory.
way?
So the project area gets 75% and the other taxing entities get 25% through the life of the project, which is a 25-year project.
And I just wrote these rough figures down because I didn't see it all. But there's $35 million that's gonna go to infrastructure. And I think I took it right that the PID was 20 million.
It's 25.
Okay, so then the developers are coming in with additional,
So
roughly.
the inland port, yes, there's 5 million from developer, finance, and then there's 5 million from the county. We received an ARPA appropriation from the legislature back in 2022. And that is being used for that sewer system.
Okay, and then, and I assume the PID will be repaid through the taxes
Through their,
and the bond, whoever picks it up.
yes, absolutely, yeah,
By the users.
by the users,
You know,
correct.
That's good.
Good.
It's not good.
No, I spent all day trying to explain this. You just got it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so right now, so far, we've deployed, as you assessed, we've deployed about 35 million into infrastructure right now. And we anticipate that will continue to grow. We have about 80 million additional dollars that we need to invest in infrastructure to really activate the remaining 9,000 acres. It's a significant lift, but with the opportunity that exists in that area, we believe that we'll have plenty of increment coming in over the next 25 years to pay for that infrastructure.
And the increment only comes out of the project area, so not out of the general fund. So it's only out of that project area and the participants, the property owners that are participating.
All of that money will be generated in that area and will be spent in that area.
Does the Port Authority have an opinion on the extension of the legacy highway to the West Davis Weber Corridor? Is there a preference? Has anyone, because in lieu of the next item on the work session, it'd be nice to have that information, because you probably won't want to stick around for that part of the meeting, but is there an opinion? Is there a preference from the inland port?
One thing that we've done is we've worked closely with WFRC and UDOT to give them data on what we anticipate is coming out here. We've worked really closely with the landowners to get absorption schedules for when they anticipate building out their properties. And right now, UDOT and WFRC are in the middle of their planning cycle. And so we're hopeful that that information on how much industry is going to be out here, how much workforce is going to be out in this area over the next 25 years will inform that new alignment. And so we've been really diligent in just getting them as much data as we can, because we know that that is going to kind of move the needle more to them coming to that ideal alignment. Regardless of where that alignment ends up, it's going to benefit the project area. It's going to benefit that area. And so we're going to be prepared to capitalize on that asset wherever it lands.
Chair, one of the things we're working on with the inland port, with this creation of the PID, Stephanie and I, in addition to the PID, we recently applied for some federal funding to build a very large bridge over the railroad at 8300 that would accommodate truck traffic. And so we would love to see UDOT, we've expressed this to UDOT, they're aware of what we're doing. And like Stephanie said, we've provided them with our absorption rates and as much data as we can to show what we're doing in this area, which was very interesting when we had this meeting because they were completely oblivious to the fact that we had a 9,000 acre inland port out there. Anyway, I say all that, but one of the things that we're looking at hopefully doing is getting that PID and this bridge building in the process of while they're doing the alignment so that they understand how that needs to connect into the port. So we're really hoping that just by showing the development though, through development, instead of just data, that we can make some traction with that study. But that study is underway at this point. and we'll see where those alignments end up. I don't think we'll know until next year.
You're talking about A300 West
Mhm.
Bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
If you push the map over, it's this route right here, Jeff.
Yeah. So at some point in history, there's gonna have to be some kind of a tie-in. Because that's where we will be routing most of the truck traffic.
Well, nobody's gonna wanna follow a school bus 9 months a year, twice a day up
Right.
the street.
Exactly.
So it's imperative in my mind. These roads need to be out west.
We could not agree with you more.
Yeah, and we're, like I said, them getting that data, right now, like the timing couldn't be more perfect because, this study that they're in the midst of is going to determine, the prioritization of all of their road projects out in this area. And what we're hoping is that they'll see that absorption, they'll see how quickly this development is happening, and they'll make those needed adjustments. They're planning decades ahead, and this is just our chance of influencing their timelines that much more.
Great question.
Anything else?
Maybe a dumb question, but you mentioned like BDO and Freeport Center. What is the size of this compared to those two?
That's a great question. I think BDO is about 14 million square feet-ish, 13, 14 million square feet of industrial space. In this area, we're looking at probably closer to 20 million when it's all said and done. And that's just based on the conservative absorption schedules that we've received from the developers in the next 25 years. So, it'll take time for us to get to, where BDO is today. But there's enough acreage out there that will likely exceed the capacity of what BDO is right now. It will take us time to get there. But the most important thing right now is, how do we build the infrastructure that could facilitate that? We could let these developers piecemeal it step one by one. It's a pretty inefficient way of getting regional infrastructure built. And this tool is perfect for ensuring that we can, right-size that infrastructure up front. One piece of infrastructure that we're looking at right now is there's actually multiple pieces that need to go into 12th Street. We need to do water lines and sewer lines, fiber and natural gas. And wouldn't it be nice if we could coordinate all of that infrastructure to go in at once instead of, we ripping up 12th Street
And
again?
getting heart attacks every day.
You'll die.
And that was one of the reasons why I asked. I'm just trying to visualize the
Great
amount of
question.
traffic and things
Yeah.
that are coming through compared to those two. Because BDO is busy, especially around 12th Street that area, but Freeport feels even busier, right? So just to visualize where.
And that's where the rail component comes in. We're looking at a transload facility out there. So that rail is so underutilized. It is just an asset that is just we aren't even scratching the surface of the potential for that rail. Really important to understand as we're putting all this infrastructure in. LMSA just is in the process of finishing up a master plan for sewer conveyance. LMSA will be the new sewer conveyance mechanism district for the entire West Weber Corridor, west of the Weber River. So we're in the process of finalizing a master plan for sewer conveyance on 12th Street with the laterals included. What we're really emphasizing with the Inland Port project area and any of the utility districts, as we're doing upsize of infrastructure, what's most important for us is creating housing for a workforce out in that area. And that is why the general plan is our roadmap. So unless you have any other questions about that, I think it's a good segue into what Charlie would like to discuss today.
Actually pretty simple. So the front map shows what your current general plan has for the area, and I'm just talking about south of the tracks and essentially west of 7500 west. The first page shows that purple line that you see, the lighter purple line. That is the boundary for the port as it stands right now. And if you flip the page over, from just looking south of the tracks again, the tracks, just in case you can't tell, is the green line that runs right through the middle of the, page there. So really the only difference is these right now. If we were to flip it back, you just see the difference. So just changing the color to be the color that it is on the west side of 8300, with the exception of some mixed residential wrapping around it. Very similar to how it's already done, just bumping it to the east.
When we created the port, that the general plan didn't match up with the industrial property. And when you guys did the original general plan in 22, we need to shift this, otherwise we can't market it.
Yeah, in 22, when we adopted, we didn't know exactly what language we wanted to be involved in.
And the port wasn't created.
So as far as north of the tracks goes, you can still see that there's some line work that needs to be done, but we don't have the landowner at the table just yet. I know that they're working on kind of their long range plan for their property, and so anxious to see what they had to do, but figure we make the adjustment now and make their adjustment at some point.
Billy, question,
Mhm.
you're saying this is the new,
Could be, just proposed.
and this is I thought this was proposed and this is.
The front page is what's in existence. That's what's there now.
Yeah,
Flip the page over, that's what I'm suggesting we could do. I mean, we could do whatever you guys want to do, but this is just an idea. I threw this together in 5 minutes just to show you for today. But figure this could be a pretty quick and easy add-on to the adjustment that we'll make to the general plan this year.
So we're just moving this buffer up.
We are,
Basically, just move that to the east.
and it includes that piece of property specifically is in the port project area, the purple. And so as it stands now, we wouldn't be able to market that piece of property, and that's gonna be an issue. Because it's.
But
Yeah,
but then the problem with that is what does that buffer look like between industrial or heavy industrial and residential?
Correct.
Right now. And the answer that this presents is that just mixed residential, put some mixed residential in there. It can be a variety of different kinds of residentials. And that doesn't have to be the answer. It could always be, we did that brown, which is for business office tech. We could always do a little buffer of business office tech if we wanted to. So whatever you guys,
Something lighter.
yeah, whatever you guys would choose. I just stuck with the same thing that we had on the map now, just moved it off.
Is it anticipated that like these boundaries will stay for a certain amount of time? How often will these lines change, or will there?
For the
be
inland
different-
port?
Yeah,
If they change, it would be to expand it but not contract it. But for right now, based on the fact that the property owner to the north is the Marriott's estate, they don't have any, we aren't anticipating that they're gonna incorporate any more pieces of property into the port. We are doing an amendment coming up here to take in 20 acres. It's a tiny little chunk right here off of 883. Charlie, is that where that is? Yeah.
75 cents.
Or is it 75? There's a little chunk that we're taking in, and it sits right on 900 South. I think it's in between 75 and 85, actually. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's right there.
Right in the ground.
Yeah, it's in the brown. Yeah,
Uh,
so it's already in the brown. But other than that, we don't anticipate expanding the boundaries we would like as much residential out there as we can get.
Mhm.
That's really important. We're creating approximately 25,000 jobs in the next 25 years. We need the residents out there.
But ultimately, once they start building residential, so John, that's what you're here for. Once they start building residential going west, there's gotta be a place in time where that goes hard. And those changes can't be made anymore.
Correct.
If we don't want there to be residential
But-
right up next to industrial.
Okay.
So,
And we're building the infrastructure to accommodate the residential as well as the industrial. That's the other reason.
so probably if we can get it planned right now, it'll make everybody happy. And then we won't have to deal with it unless something really extraordinary comes up.
And I don't know what next year's gonna bring as far as general fund adjustments go next year. We're thinking that they'll fund, our transportation corridors, update that we were going to do this year. So we could adjust things a little bit more even then, but figure where we had, Mr. Price asking the question, seemed like a pretty easy swap on the map. There's not a whole lot more that needs to be done in the general plan itself, other than just updating that. Figure might as well knock this one out while we're working on the space between the river and 4700 West, south of the train track side. Any concerns with the shape or configuration? It's nothing special, just follow property boundaries.
Yeah, we're literally just kind of asking it to shift back into the port and then have that buffer remain the same kind of buffer, just shift it over a little bit. And, Mr. Price is willing to work within that buffer with what's recommended.
I have another question. I heard you say you're gonna participate in the housing sewer. Is that as it's needed? Or what do you plan on doing?
So we're putting in large infrastructure and including,
We're about on that map, you think?
so what we're working on right now, LMSA is, looking at building out a line from 59 where that new lift station is, that's the new lift station, building that all the way out to 93.
So it comes back to
Mhm.
the center.
And it actually, our master plan shows a reversible line. The lift station that was built is very large. But with the amount of growth that's projected, we're gonna have to do something a little bit different. And phase that in. So LMSA, in conjunction with the port, will be looking at using that new PID to build out the line to 93. The line is a reversible line.
So if you build one.
So if we end up building a treatment facility out west in the future, we flip the line and we go out west.
So it's level and pumped.
Exactly. It'll be a forest. There'll be some gravity pieces too, but it'll predominantly be a forest main with lift stations at the major intersections where the laterals go. Yeah, and we're partnering very closely. I would love to announce this. We're not quite there yet, but we're partnering very closely with Westmore Water. They will be the exclusive water provider in the Inland Port project area. So we're working on those contracts right now. So we're really excited to be able to, we're really hoping to only open the road once to do all the infrastructure upgrades at one time. Once again, per Gary's request. We like to make Gary happy. That was priceless.
The citizens appreciate that as well. It's nice to not have roads closed over and over again.
Absolutely, or ripped up and repaved and paid for over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, the road expansion has been a fabulous asset, and so it pains us to have to build it, or rip it up again, but we're hopeful that through this coordination and through the access of funding to be able to do it all at once, we're hopeful that we can make it a really efficient project. A big project, but the idea is that, with these financing tools, we wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to do it all in one fell swoop.
And you have this piecemeal system, which you have currently out there. Right now, we're putting in that new line and we're finding old pieces of infrastructure that we're having to remove. So our project is costing us a lot more than we anticipated. This is an opportunity to go in and do it all in one fell swoop.
One more question on the sewer.
Yeah.
For the surrounding people, is that gonna be recapturable when they look up to it, or is it just the sewer that's available to them if they develop?
No, absolutely. Anyone in the surrounding area, in fact, LMSA is,
That's a good idea.
yeah, and LMSA is prepared to adopt anyone into their service area that wants to be adopted in, and we will be doing rebates on in households. We'll be doing special discounts to connect. Because we know that your septic out there is not the best. But you're welcome to
But I
connect.
know it's every, so no.
Yes. that's definitely gonna be an option for residents to connect. And we'll be working with the housing developers as well as the industrial developers, to connect into that new line and system.
Cool. Any other questions, Dr.?
Well, the buffer's gonna be there, so I don't have a problem with that, but I just wanna make sure that we root out that mixed use residential is the best end use and zone for this. So commissioners, you know, I guess I'll ask you, is there any concerns with that being mixed use residential? Would you rather see it be something that's a little bit different than that, some lighter industrial or, you know, the tech that Charlie mentioned, which is what we originally had on the general plan for Promontory Center? What are your thoughts there? I'm not completely satisfied that mixed use residential is the perfect fit next to the inland port. So that's my concern. And I don't know that we need to have an answer to that tonight, because this is a public hearing to adopt this. But at the same time, those are some questions that I'm struggling with a little bit, been struggling with those since we talked about this several meetings ago.
I'm with you, Rick, because we don't know which way the mixed use is,
Yeah,
done best yet.
right.
I agree, it's something we need to contemplate still, because, I mean, the ones we tried to work with already, it's been really challenging, right? It's like nobody knows how to do it the right way, so.
Well, and economics is gonna play a factor or a big role out here too, on mixed use being that far west
Right.
from everything right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what hurts and helps. You hurt one, you help another, you know, type situation. But, anyway, that's a little bit of a concern I've been kicking around in my head.
Stephanie, do you guys have any other port areas that have a close, approximately close housing component that we could maybe dig up some data on?
The unique aspects of our port project areas right now is that they're very new. A lot of them are greenfield today, but many of them are incorporating residential adjacent to these areas. Some of them even have residential inside of the project area boundaries as well. And so I don't know if we have any examples today of what that looks like, but we've certainly received some concepts that seem intriguing. And so, you know, happy to share examples of what we've seen, symbiotic residential product that can fit out here. And I'm happy to talk through that.
You know, something to consider too, you had brought up the M&T zone, which is gonna have a residential component very close to it. That might be something we look at actually for this far piece, Charlie, and not necessarily just go full M3 on that far piece and look at that far piece and say, well, you know, even though it is been traditionally said that it's gonna be an M3, maybe we look at that parcel and M&T it. So that's an option too, and that way we can keep that residential buffer a little,
Along 75,
yeah.
along 75, I just see a lot of residential eventually is gonna be there.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, how do you integrate that right into full M3? Right. It seems like that's a pretty hard smack to me, the way that I think about it. But then when you think about it, as you were speaking about, you know, integrating residential right inside of an industrial, then I think about Wall Avenue and the homes on the west side of Wall Avenue that butted right up against EDO. So, I mean, there is that. It's not ideal, I don't think, and that's what I kind of go back and forth. It's great for people who want to live there, that work there, that can bike or ride or walk,
Right.
you know. But eventually, what does that turn into over decades? Not over 10 years, but over 10 years, you know? So.
And that's what things what you're describing as a good buffer between, you can be close, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to picture like the other ones we talked about, BDO and Freeport. Does Freeport have housing right next to it? I mean, I can think of the new stuff that's there. Yeah.
It used to, but I think that between the city going west toward it and the Freeport center building east toward the city. I
Yeah,
think a lot of it's been eliminated.
right, well, that, and then, well, it might be close, but it'd be a major road in between zones, I can think of, envelope dividing it, separating it. And on the new side of the north side of Freeport, it's all businesses, like what we're talking about, right?
And on the south side. Yeah, on the south side where there used to be nothing but onions, it's houses.
So here's an interesting idea is, looking at, so this property is kind of interesting, the piece we're talking about, it's about over 900 acres. It's owned by one property owner, but it's 3 separate parcels. And if you look at this split that we're doing at 83, we're gonna build that bridge right there. That's where that bridge is gonna go. So we could talk, Stephanie, we can talk to the property owner and see if he would be willing to go to downzone that a little bit. And we would just look at recruiting like an M&T type of a opportunities on that particular parcel. Lighter industrial on that parcel, and we've got plenty of M3 out there. We've got a lot of space we're working with. So I think it would be worth having that conversation with the property owner and to get a temperature gauge on how he would feel about having that. I can tell you right now, he's not happy because it's in a residential zone right now, but I'm sure he would be willing to make a compromise and maybe even be willing to be the buffer between that and what John Price is talking about them doing for residential in this area, because we do need that adjacent residential. But yeah, I agree, Andrew, just that stark contrast is probably not best practice. So,
And it gives us some flexibility to
Yeah.
Diversify the industrial out there. Maybe bringing in some smaller scale spaces or subdivide a larger building into smaller units.
Mhm.
So you can have, a 5,000 square foot.
research and development,
Yeah.
bio, any of these smaller, these not heavy manufacturing, which we'd love to accommodate because we want to diversify that whole workforce out there.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'd be happy to have that conversation.
So something to note on the map, the lighter purple, which this square is light industrial manufacturing. The heavier purple, like at the left-hand corner, is just straight industrial manufacturing. So the intention is that heavier would be the M3. It is a little confusing because there's a lot of area here shown as light commercial that's in the M3 zone right now. If you recall the conversation with the general plan, the idea was to hopefully work with the landowners to lighten the types of uses that are happening where it shows light industrial. So instead of rocket manufacturing, maybe it's more like logistics and warehousing.
We're constrained by water, and that's really what it comes down to. So we can't put these really large, heavy manufacturing facilities out in this area. We can't accommodate the water request. That's just a reality.
Something about that, it is already shown as light. Right behind where it says future land uses, that's where the black pine industrial, the PCC is, and that's colored that lighter purple. But then we surround it with a hybrid. It's surrounded with business office tech with crosshatched mixed use commercial. So if somebody were to come in the bumper around PCC and ask for business office tech, answer could very easily be yes. If they wanted a little bit of mixed commercial in there, the answer could very easily be yes as well. So providing some flexible options. We could look at that here.
We want the companies making the electronics here for the missile guy over here.
That's right.
You mean the nuclear reactor?
Yeah, whatever he is. Yeah.
I'm just gradually integrating that into my conversations.
I'll make some adjustments to this map and we'll probably talk about it again. next time.
And we'll chat with the landowner.
The nuclear facility.
Would you like that on your property?
I will.
And maybe for next time, if we could get some examples of where this has been done before and what's worked, hasn't worked, maybe, that'd be good. That'd really help with some of these other projects. we
Yeah.
might have been here,
Yeah.
It's hard to visualize it without something to visualize.
Okay, I'll take a look. You're right. Manufacturing is, out of all the things that we're trying to mix and mash when we're doing zoning reform, manufacturing still is not one of those things. It kind of lives in its own space. It's probably ideal for it to continue to live in its own space. Okay, I'll look for examples and I'll
Thanks.
bring some adjustments tonight.
We appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks for the presentation. That was so.
Long overdue. And Stephanie will let me know if you want, an electronic copy of that annual report.
If you could, why don't you just send it to staff and then
Great.
they have our email and
Yeah.
they can get it
I'll
out
get
to
that
us.
out.
That'd
Awesome.
be great.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you. Sounds good. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Much love your decision.
All right, Sean, so did we take care of item one? There's more discussion we want to have on that.
Nope, done with that.
Done? Okay. All right. That part right? Wow. Good. Long with it.
Oh, thank you.
Item number two on our agenda is the West Weber Freeway Corridor community outreach. So it's like, Tammy has another handout for us on that.
Thank you.
Charlie, did you want to give us anything on that one?
No, I'm gonna let Tammy take the lead on this.
Tammy's the lead on this one, all right. So you have to pass out your own papers and present. Wow. Thank you.
Okay, so over the past couple of weeks, we've been having discussions with farmers, landowners, developers this afternoon to discuss the preferred alignment of this legacy extension. The handout that you have is what we have handed out to these individuals. The first one is what's shown on our general plan as far as these two alignments here. This is 8,300. This is the legacy extension here further east. When you guys go to the second page, you've got what UDOT adopted in 2009. That green is the alignment that falls somewhat over the county's preferred alignment, as well as the red is a possibility. And then the third page shows a couple of other alternates that UDOT is discussing right now. The blue and the purple that are further east. So we have met with landowners, with stakeholders out there to make sure, or to see if we're all kind of on the same page about where the western alignment may benefit more property owners, more developers, allow for development of the of Black Pine, of the inland port, of all of this along here that would keep 12th Street from becoming a serious issue with the potential development that will happen out there over the next 10, 20 years. So we've got property owners here, we've got some stakeholders here that are here to discuss some of this with you guys, but the idea is to get kind of a concerted communication to UDOT to hopefully get them on the same page that we are, which is to go with this more western alignment than what they're looking at. We still don't have any information about really where they want to put this. They haven't come to any meetings. We may have invited them to. There is a new representative over Region 1. So we're kind of hoping with some change in personnel that maybe we'll get a listening ear over there. In speaking with the developers this afternoon, they're looking at maybe a top-down approach and reaching out to the state and letting them know, getting some signatures. The county commissioners are on board with this, but really we just would kind of like some massive communication, hopefully all in 1 or 2 shots, to get to UDOT to say, hey, this is going to work far better for the community out there, for developers, for landowners, and it's not going to cost them nearly as much money to get it aligned where we'd like it. So that's kind of what's being presented to you today. I will let you guys decide if you want to hear from some of these stakeholders that are here at the meeting today. We have the commission has asked us to kind of get everybody in one room. So we've met with the different groups separately and now we're here together. But you guys have any questions, any comments? Yes.
What west approximately is the blue and purple?
Somewhere between 47 and 50.
Gotcha. So,
51, no, maybe not.
yeah, so you've got the Bennett Farms development and Black Pine kind of straddle either side of that purple line. That helps you on the north side of 12th. Yeah,
And that's what the state is supposed on.
they're,
Now,
they're looking at both of those. Nothing has been decided as far as we know, and I don't know that we're gonna know anything for certain from them until next year, unless we, have you heard otherwise, Charlie? Have I missed anything, by the way?
Nope.
Okay.
In relation to this map, is the far gray one is 8,500, where it crosses the tracks
Yeah.
down here. Yeah, 8,300. Yeah, okay.
For that one, 8,300 is not intended for this freeway alignment. 8,300 is on our current master plan for potential future long range freeway. So after UDOT builds,
Play with your finger on it, Charlie.
so after UDOT builds wherever this highway is gonna go, another 50 years down the road, we might need another more westerly highway that goes up to 8,300. That's what this one is. This is not.
What west is that where we were speaking?
This one here, is about, yeah, 62 west.
Okay.
So, I know they haven't been communicating recently, but with what communication they have given, is there any justification of why they like this blue and purple line? Because personally, I feel like getting further west makes more sense. I know you've said that, but even just from our discussion with the last item, it seems like it'd be better the further west we are.
My understanding is they're trying to avoid wetlands.
yeah,
So they'd rather
And-
take out
and- but-
expensive houses than wetlands.
but they're very uninformed on what the wetlands are out there. And until they do that study, they really can't argue about wetlands. Because that wetland study, the environmental study has not been done yet. So let me give you just a little bit of history. So we have quite a few of the players here tonight. You go back to 2008 and when this was originally proposed, and there were 3 different options, or 4 or 5, there was a handful anyway of different options of where they wanted to put it. The furthest one east was near the power towers. Then progressively 4,700, mid-block between 47 and 51, 51, and then I don't know if there was anything west of that at that time. Well, they put together a little community group of people, myself, my brother, Ben Worthridge from Wasatch Front. Thanks for being here tonight, Ben. Really appreciate having you here. Let's see, we had John Giorgio was on it. We had representation from the Heslop family. And we worked with Wasatch Front Regional Council, UDOT, the commission at that time. The commissioner was Jan Zogmeister. And we had, I don't know, dozen and a half or so meetings on what the best way or the best place was to put this corridor. At the end of all of that research and talk and meetings, this was the preferred route, which is what was presented to Weber County.
Which is green?
Which is green.
Okay.
Yeah. And which is what was presented to Weber County. And it might not have been this exact
But close to that.
alignment, but it was close to that. And Weber County then adopted that into their long-term or future transportation plan. So now the whole thing went away for a decade, and now it's getting closer to us. With the last part of this, there was a meeting last fall that brings it to, I think the study's being done to 4,000 south. Is that correct? Now?
Yeah, they're getting ready, I think, for construction. on that.
And construction will be done to 1,800 north in Davis County,
Mhm.
I believe, right? That's already been approved and that's already,
Funded.
wheels are turning on that. It's done.
Question, did it stay the same as when you guys were talking?
Down-
1,800.
We didn't deal with Davis County.
I was just wondering if the road was pretty much.
I think it was pretty much projected to be along where it's at now at that time, but that wasn't what we were discussing.
It was
Weber County, yeah, unincorporated. And at that time, Hooper had recently incorporated, or Hooper City had incorporated. So anyway, so they had, that was their jurisdiction to deal with. So that brings us to where we are today, and it looks like UDOT is still pretty much on some of these proposals in the same place on a couple of them as they were then. And I don't know that they're hearing what the community's saying. So I think what, the goal is, and Tammy mentioned it already, I'm just repeating, but the goal is to say, hey, you got some pretty heavy stakeholders here, property owners, developers, that are planning on what had been adopted for the future transportation plan in Weber County, that's going to be where that road's going to be. We've got now correct me if I'm wrong, we've got 14,000 approvals, front door approvals, and over 2 million square feet of commercial retail space on Westbridge. And we've got another 3,800 front doors-ish, or 2,800, where are we at on Black Pine, on Bennett Farms?
3,000.
3,000 with retail there as well, and I'm not, I can't remember the numbers on the commercial and retail. But essentially, the West Weber area, which will, that'll be a city center type situation over there. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we've been working to through the general plan in rezone approvals that represent that, 18,000 front doors and more than several million square feet of commercial retail space that is now, I don't know what the right word is, but I'll say in jeopardy of that corridor being moved. So that's what we're here to, kind of figure out, but not just figure out, because to figure out, we probably won't be able to do, but is to get something in front of legislatures or committees of the legislature to have conversations with UDOT about what makes sense for Western Weber County based on what we know about Western Weber County, and who knows Western Weber County better than the people, the stakeholders in Western Weber County. So there you go. There's my nickel's worth. You got a whole extra 2 cents out of me, Charlie.
That's perfect.
So now, if you guys want, we can ask the folks that attended to, give us a couple minutes of what's on their mind.
I think that's appropriate.
Right? I do too. So, okay.
I'd like to hear.
All right. Anybody like to be first? I see we got some development folks. We got ag folks. Anybody want to take a stab at it? Thanks,
I'll
John.
go first. My name is John DiGiorgio. I live at 1569 South, 5130 West. And that's my dairy location. I live just west of there. As Andy mentioned, I was on the committee when we moved back in 2008, 2009 over this legacy expansion coming north. We got, I got UDAP involved, and they put together some information on how much ag that contributes to the financial statement to the state every year. In doing so, we actually looked up the Century Farms. And the whole north end of that corridor is all Century Farms. After that, in 2009, I mean, I'm a farmer out there, I don't own a lot of ground, but I had to make a decision on what I was gonna do to protect my ground and what I was gonna do with it. Now, here I am, 15 years later, and that's moved back to my front doorstep. Or the state wants to move it back there. As I sat here and listened to all this development that's going on out west, I know, Charlie, you said that the state doesn't look very far down the road. When I sit here in a meeting with all this development going on out west, plus the 14,000 homes, plus the 3,800 homes, we need to try and force the UDOT to keep that road west, because that's where everybody, I think, in the county and the communities are expecting that road to go. So.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Brandon Green, Flagship Homes, 300 South 1350 East Lehigh. I had some experience with UDOT several years ago, and I'll go back to your general plan. My experience with UDOT was they looked heavily on what you had planned in your general plan. and they tried to use that. So I wouldn't back down from what you've already got planned and what you're showing, and what you've shown for the last, I don't know, 20 years. From a developer and development standpoint, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, it's already been said. We have planned residential, commercial, uses around that corridor, and shifting it east is gonna, in my opinion, create an island with the inland port. And all that traffic having to go where to get to the freeway. That's a huge impact. And I think this group has done a phenomenal job in planning for the future. And UDOT needs to realize that that's what we're doing, that we're planning for the future. We've got to be able to look out a ways and see the impacts that this is going to have. Because if this whole area develops like we anticipated developing, there's gonna be a lot of cars.
Well, and a great point of what you mentioned was that east-west is a problem now.
Right.
And so putting in a facility this size will alleviate a lot of the pressure on the east-west. And if you put it in the right place, it will really do its job for a long period of time before we have to do more north-south or huge expansion on east-west. And it spreads that traffic out, because the only way out of western Weber County is to go north or south. There isn't a lot of traffic that goes up I-84. So it's pretty simple, but to move it more westerly makes more sense because it'll be better utilized. This is my opinion. It'll be better utilized, and it's already been planned around.
Seems like it'd have a greater impact, positive impact being west, and have a greater negative impact where it's proposed, right? Because you're gonna take out a lot of homes, a lot of other things. Is there anybody in the room that is against it being further west? Or would rather not see it that way?
No, I have comments. So we mentioned the Freeport a lot tonight. I'm one expert that works in that area myself. I think the biggest thing with the Freeport, the buffer down there is the roads. And you guys mentioned that. There's Antelope, there's 193, 1000 West. They're not a great buffer, right? Especially when you add all that traffic to it. East and west is terrible down there. You're gonna have the road that's down there, Jays Ford, 177 is what I'm gonna start calling it, because it's consistent from Salt Lake all the way into Plain City. That is going to be key for that inland port. Freeport, one of the biggest challenges is the street network around it. I was talking to them a little bit about that they need to plan for that. I don't know what your plans are. I can't see them, but the street networks inside of that and Freeport are private. It makes it a nightmare. It splits the city in half. I wouldn't think you're going to do it if you don't have a major highway going through there to help things flow. You look at VDO, there's some public roads in there, but they're not great, but it still invites people to drive through there so you don't have a blockade because you already have the train tracks. That infrastructure is crucial for the first conversation you guys have. Otherwise, it'll work, but it's going to be a mess and it's going to be a fun. You guys know. A lot of you guys are professionals and that's why we're talking. But now the other piece to this, as we go further north, you guys have done a good job of planning the county around this. I just talked about that. You guys do the county. We're putting together a general plan in Plain City. Well, we want to know where that thing's at too, because we are currently putting it together as a major piece in Plain City. Plain City does not have traditionally a lot of growth. Now we're growing quite rapidly. Well, that's a major piece to it that's going to throw a wrench in if we decide to move it 3 or 4 times in the next 10 or 20 years, or even in the next year or two, just on a plan, because we all know it's 20 years out, or whatever they keep saying, who knows. I personally think the Olympics is going to change that a little bit with the growth we might have, but that's even my personal opinion. Whether that helps or not, I got a lot of experience from Davis County all the way into Willard Bay with this, and it will definitely help in the board. Anyway.
Thank you.
The distance between where we show it and where UDOT is potentially thinking it through is about 1.5 miles, which, you know, we've got some companies that wanted to locate after the port, where 1.5 or a mile was the difference between make it or break it.
That's exactly right.
The closer they are to that freeway and a freeway ramp,
It's all about transportation.
Part of the reason why we are putting that bridge in phase 1 is we're getting 300 why we put a bridge at East 300 today makes no sense today, but the whole purpose of that is to show we put millions and millions of dollars in infrastructure based on that road. It's kind of, it's a political move in a way, and it's needed, obviously, but the reason why it's part of phase one was for that reason, to show UDOT, we built millions of dollars of infrastructure based on that alignment. You know, we have to have that alignment. And so that was, that's, if you wonder why we're doing the Bridge over 83 now, that's a big reason for it.
You probably should move that up in alignment on 63. Because if you put that in, they will come. It's like the field of dreams. If that infrastructure is already established, it'd be stupid for them to go anywhere else.
It's on the inland port, so we have all of our infrastructure has to be on the inland port. And so that's being built with the inland port.
Well,
Finance.
right.
But
Yeah, this is
flagship will be a good one to talk about the bridge, so.
We'll start tomorrow.
Ben, I hate to put you on the spot, and if I am, you don't have to get up to speak, but has the thought process, or maybe Wasatch Front Regional, or you representing Wasatch Front Regional or not, it's up to you. Do you think that any priority has changed in where this corridor was planned for to now?
Ben Withridge with Wasatch Front Regional Council. Yes and no. Part of the things that I think that we're seeing is UDOT went through quite a lengthy process to take the West Davis corridor from Legacy. You know, we all got slapped around when Legacy went in. And then they got slapped around really good when they went in to do the West Davis corridor. And I think because of that, lessons learned, whether they're using it as a crutch or an excuse, or whether they have, and I think there's some real concern as well. They're concerned on how their battle will line up with the Corps and with others when we are dealing with the wetlands. I know a lot's changed back when we were looking. We actually started that study in 07.
Okay.
So, and so it took us a couple of years, got to meet a lot of people, both, well, I'll just say friendly at different degrees. But
How are those Rivera?
oh, awesome. Amazing. Good people. John as well. It was just a really good experience to work with and to learn and to understand the area more. And even back then, to see the legacy or the West Davis and the Weber, West Weber corridor, as it's maturing this quick, I think it's maturing a lot quicker than a lot of us envisioned. I think when Legacy went in, that was a win. But to see the next section of the West Davis, and now this next section of West Davis, I think the realization of how important these facilities are going to play are coming, and the support behind them is coming up from the legislators. You know, these are state funded projects. We don't have federal funds in them, which is amazing. Nowhere else in the country can we have these type of facilities moving forward. So A+ to the state, but there's just the cautions that are coming. Where do they want to pick their battles? If we can come in and we can build this without having a lot of fight, then maybe we consider that. And that's what they're doing, and that's why they're reopening up this, looking at the corridors. They want to come in and say, what can we do and what can we get away with without having to spend a lot in litigation or in the courts or wherever they're gonna apply. I think Weber County's done an amazing job with your master plan and having it there and planning on it, working on it, around it. I think as you move forward and develop your own network road system to help support and to build these future facilities, I think would be a plus. Well, I might be out of line saying this, but I remember years ago, when we were down looking at some facilities down in the southwest quadrant of Salt Lake. And we met with the mayors, he laid out his plans on his truck, and he says, we're gonna have a big road here. We looked and we said, maybe so. But we can't put any money in this because we can't justify it right now. So why don't you build a smaller facility? And then later on, we can come in, when the growth comes, we can come in and we can widen this facility. And that's what they did on a couple of them corridors. You'll recall, it's been less than 30 years that 126 South was a 2-lane road. Now you're on a 5 to a 7-lane road and you're still waiting to move through at times of the day. And so a lot of growth, the same thing is gonna happen in Weber County. I hope that we're able to plan ahead so that you can maintain the kind of lifestyle you have out here. And that then we can work together and have some proper growth and development. Take what we can see, learn from it, and move forward with it. So I don't know, Andrew, if that, or Mr. Chair, if that's any good.
No, thank you, appreciate it, man. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. Commissioners, anything you want to add or any questions, concerns? Thoughts, feelings?
Well, I just believe it needs to be to the west. Because in the end, I think that it'll handicap the ability to what they want to do at the inland port. Because a mile is a long time. But the way manufacturing and everything is today, just in time, don't store anything. So all these materials, raw materials, are on these roads. It used to be in warehouses. And so it's imperative that we have a robust transportation system. And I just think that you do it up here, I just think there's gonna be too much problem because we still have 12th Street to get with. And it's no fun in the morning when those kids are getting on the bus. And, you know, you see, I stop for the bus, people go by me 100 miles an hour. Well, not 100, but 60, down that middle thing. So I think that we just need to build this thing so that we have not only things that actually help us with our growth of what we want to do out there, but I think it'll really make 12th Street a lot safer and easier to access for the people of Greece.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
I just wanted to add something to it. If I don't do it before I'll forget.
Okay.
If that mile or mile and a half that you're talking about, and what Ben mentioned about 127th South, that's the only road that I've ever been on that I felt like I was lost when I was in the middle of the road. I mean, that thing's huge when you get down there, and traffic's coming at you in every direction. But imagine 12th Street having to be 127th South because we didn't put this road far enough west when it should have been. And that mile makes a lot of difference. That mile seems like an eternity when you're waiting there in traffic. So that was a great, thanks, Ben. It made me think of something. I appreciate that. Yes, sir, Roger.
Roger Heslop, 1657 South, 4700 West. When you look at the physical structure in the difference between 5100 and 63 or whatever it is, when you start looking at the number of bridges, the width of the bridges, just to go across the river, just to handle the traffic from the size of development that they're trying to talk about, I mean, the county is gonna have to spend millions just to get east and west traffic, because people aren't gonna go all the way around to the ends of the corridor, to go east to Ogden. And you look at the future village plan of West Weber. That's not the West Weber I've grown up with.
No.
I'm not particularly in favor of it. But I would much rather that become the next Clinton. And you look at what they've done down there in their last few years with their roads and their infrastructure and building out their city as to what it was just a few years ago. And progress is coming. I hate to see it, but let's keep that road to the west just because the county can't afford to cross the river 4 or 5 times, or 6 or 8. You get the traffic east and west.
Thanks, Roger. Charlie, was there, or Tammy, sorry, is, at the end of at the end of this work session for this item, was there something we wanted put together formally from this, or is that gonna take place in another meeting? Or did you just want to get a consensus
So,
from the attendees, or what did you have?
yeah, I think mostly just to get everyone in one room and make sure most of us are on the same page. The developers from our meeting earlier this afternoon have pretty much taken the ball and they're gonna run with it for a bit. And we will communicate with them. They're gonna put together something for the landowners, the farmers out there to take a look at and make sure that they agree with it. But we'll work together from the top down and the bottom up to get to UDOT and hopefully help them understand why we need this where it's been planned for so long.
I just want to get a consensus then real quick around the room here from the planning commission, just to kind of, so that you have kind of an idea of where everybody's at. So, Casey?
Just for my position on it?
Yeah.
I haven't heard any argument that would make me lean to going east. Everything points to the west for me, and my own experience of being out in that area, I would say west.
I heard a rumor that the state already bought some land over there between 700 North and 1900 a while back. And so I just think that the road needs to be there.
And the land you're talking about is out west?
Yeah,
it's not a rumor.
No, okay. Anyway, I mean, where are we gonna build 800-foot road to nowhere? Anyway, I just feel like it needs to be west, and if I had my druthers, it would even be farther west, but I can live with this.
Commissioner?
I think roads are the new rivers of the west. And all things go downhill. If you look at the line in the middle of this between 15, you're gonna take everywhere from maybe 6 or 7 miles this side of I-15, and the rest of the people are gonna go west, which will lighten the traffic, which is what they wanna do. And then you can pick up stuff that's towards the west, and you can pick up stuff towards the east, and it'll be down here. So I do have a lot of big trucks that go in the inland. Before it makes 15 a mess, they can go down here and follow that right through. I don't think it makes any sense. And I bet when that map gets done, I look at that, you're gonna have as much wetlands in here as they do down the road.
Yeah.
When I thought we did that 3 years ago, I thought they did a new map. Didn't they?
The FEMA did. Didn't
Yeah,
FEMA agree?
Updated their flood.
Yeah.
So I don't know why don't they just look at that and see? And they're gonna deal with,
Right.
they're gonna deal with having to buy less houses down here. And if you follow this out around, this road goes clear up here and it goes right up past Willard Bay. So you're gonna be taking part of the Pleasant View people and North Ogden people that don't wanna go through town to get 15 and bring them out here too. It just makes more sense. And there's a lot more houses where they've drawn it. And the houses they buy are a lot more than buying it from out here where there's nothing. That's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that's been said. The only thing I'll add is social media has been saying the same thing that the group here has been saying, and wants it to the west.
Commissioner?
West.
I mean, we've planned all the developments around where we think it's supposed to go, so I think it needs to stay there. 100%.
Okay, so there's something that you mentioned, the commissioners or whoever cares.
I think the desired outcome is to have a letter that all 3 commissioners can sign, all 7 planning commissioners can sign, all affected landowners can sign, all affected developers can sign. It's a pretty big force. We can't influence in any other way, and hopefully we can influence that way.
All we can do is try.
Yep.
You won't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket.
That's right.
Yeah, there's one debacle we have there with the fishing game. Not only that 80-acre parcel. If they're not willing to go with the route that they picked, they could go straight west where they bought that ground from Rawson. They go straight west down our property all the way down, and I visited with Burks that are straight west of us, and they want the road to come straight through them and then turn and come through. And Ortegas were really upset that they weren't getting part of that road if it comes through on an angle chart.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to bring it right straight down through our 80 acres that goes straight through and ends up with Perks, it's under a different name. They just got some initials on that property that's straight west.
Mm-hmm.
And then make the loop in their property and head to the north and go through Ortega and then across. And it wouldn't diagonally cut that off. And then Atkinson's had proposed to us after our last meeting. I talked to Jeff a little bit after the meeting, and if 2550 needed to come down and the fishing game's in the way there also, they would accept turning 2550 a little bit to the north and coming straight west all the way down and cut T into that. So if you want to draw a line on that map, you might consider that option.
Yeah, thank you.
And by the way, I was Tom Favero, 1295 North 47 Fairfax.
I was,
Yeah, nobody knows.
I was.
But if you've got something there, I can kind of guide you through that. Or more than that. Okay, well, that gives you hopefully something that we can work with. And anything else we want to, anybody else got anything else? Parting words of wisdom?
It's good to be back.
John, yeah, and we'd love to have you back.
Tammy, so what did the developers say? Did they want to go west?
Yes, they do.
All of them?
Yep, they do.
I don't know, somebody, I haven't talked to a single person in all the counties that wants to. No landowner, no landowner. Yeah, everybody wants the west. It's only that makes sense, right? I haven't heard a single. Except for,
I thought about that question a half a dozen times, we kept getting asked it. Thank you, John. Appreciate that.
You don't usually get people to come in and say, I want you to tear down my $2 million home, right?
Yeah.
well, you're going to unanimous decision between all the top owners will be willing to make that happen too, so it's like unanimous. I mean, you have every person involved in that area is on board with it. That never happens. Usually everybody's fighting, it's put it over there, no put it over there, and everything, we all want it like that. So just, I think we'll get it through.
And I'm glad that we got a consensus from the development side of land ownership too, so that's good. Okay, anything else?
I don't have anything, so I'm not sure about Charlie.
I'm good. All right, then I would say that this work session is adjourned.
Oh, it's not showing. Probably not.
And as soon as that light goes off, we can speak freely.
I was just really hoping you might call your chair. Anything else appropriate?
But I didn't hear it.
Tom should address him as chair, if not.
Sure.